And what are you doing? You're going, and you're just creating one shape that you've practiced a lot, followed by another shape that you've practiced a lot. What I want you to do is flow between those two states and have that kind of ability from a relaxed whipping technique to be able to control that hand in any way possible. Do you understand? Possibly Gakuzuki, sorry, Giranbrai was the most hit. So let's just do that one more time. So you're going one, relax, engage, prepare, knee, prepare, sound. This is your energy escaping. Sound is energy. And so if you're creating sound, that's your potential energy. Instead of going into your technique, it's going into the floor, which creates sound. So you just want to, not this. Understand? 100% of your mass going forward. Like again, what I'm trying to do is take one basic simple principle and then find increasingly more difficult ways for you to practice that principle. Do you understand? Nobody understands. Again. So, there's no such thing as basic technique. Okay, this is an illusion. There's only basic principles of physical movement. Do you understand? Like, take away that impression that karate is something. Karate is nothing, doesn't mean anything. It is just merely a methodology to teach you something far more profound, which is how to use your body, to give you physical intelligence, whilst also trying to maximize the potential of your body. Okay, that's it. Karate is superimposed onto those ideas. So what I'm trying to do, therefore, is try to get just one basic principle, a few basic principles, of course, but a few basic principles that I want to focus on today, and then find increasingly more challenging ways for you to practice those principles, to challenge yourself, physically, mentally, timing, maybe emotionally challenge you. Like the way that people are looking at me. Like, so there's a whole host of things that I'm trying to get you to do. But ultimately, it's just so you can understand how to use your body better and also be able to use your body better, as in physically challenge you. Do you understand? So those basic principles are all of your body, all of the time. So you've got that. Relaxing your body, making sure there's always movement, that you're not stiff and still, and you're setting that in. And then if you can do that, that should be easy. 1, 2. Like if you can do 1, we'll try doing 2. So relax, relax, relax. And there's still that movement. Movement within stillness, stillness within movement. But ultimately, like, I will equally suffer. The only way that I can create power, really speaking, is to have 1 foot behind or 1 foot in front of my center line. Then I can create power. Okay, so this idea of like from Shizen, like, okay, for sure, bomb, you're gonna if you have good targeting, then for sure you'll create some level of power. But ultimately, if you really wanted to create power, you would drop your weight, get 1 foot behind you, use the arch of your foot, and explode your power in. Okay? So to go down the argument of, well, we have to rotate our body in. Well, this is still equally a training method. This is not how you create maximum power. This is just a training method. You get a good gymnast, you know, and you go, right, I want you to swim, they can swim. I want you to climb, they can climb. I want you to throw, they can throw. Gymnasts are perfect athletes, right? They can do anything they want, right? We want to be the gymnasts of the martial art world. You want to throw someone? Oh, he says, you know, throw someone. You want to kind of choke someone out? Oh, you can do that. Punch someone, you can do that. You want to kick someone, you can do that. You want to do Tai Chi, we can do that. Like, you know, most of the time I look at YouTube and I'm looking at different martial arts. I'm even looking at different, like, not that martial arts is a sport, but I'm looking at different sports and going, oh, that's a really interesting way that they're moving. How can I put that into my karate? Exactly. So we never want to be blinkered. We are then become the prison guard and the prisoner. We are putting constraints on our own belief system. And karate should open it, not close it. American athlete, and he was trying to make the Olympic squad. He was like a long distance runner, and he was always like 4th or 5th in the country. And he couldn't make it into that top 3, therefore, to get into the Olympic team. And so he got a new coach. And the first thing his coach did, said, okay, you're going to practice barefoot. And he had him running wherever, 1,000 meters. I don't know what the distance he was running, but long distance. And he had him running barefoot. And he went from a size 11 foot shoe to a size 9. His foot just went and became strong. And he then won the American Championships. He then entered the Olympic team, and he then came 3rd in the world. So he went from 5th in America to 3rd in the world just by strengthening his foot and his calf. So I don't know. But what I will say is that if we treat it, like I am constantly treating my feet as another muscle that I have to work. And then therefore by connection my calf. Yeah. So 2 things I would say about that. Firstly is that Shotokan Karate, arguably because of competition, but also because of gradings, has been straightened. There's an awful lot of circular, in traditional karate there's a lot of circular motion. So for example, if I was going to punch, you know, well, which one looks stronger? You know, we have made it superficial, so that we have that externalization of our kime, which is a very horrible term. But like, so what that produces is that straightening of karate. Whereas, you know, if I really wanted to punch someone, like I would be kind of like, if I wanted to maximize my power, it'd be very circular in nature. But Shotokan has been straightened because of competition and gradings, and also you can't control a circular technique. Like you don't have circular techniques within competition because it's very difficult to snap back and pull, right? So so I'd say that. So in terms of the functionality of karate, circular technique is far stronger. What you're doing is you get a lot more mass. However, straight techniques are faster. So it's again that balance. So we have both within karate, and we shouldn't only do straight techniques. Second thing I would say is that at what point does a technique finish? How long does it need to finish before it's finished? You know, does it instantly finish, or do you have to hold it for a certain time before it's finished? Well, like when you ask it that question, you go, oh, well, it instantly finishes. So if it's instantly finished, then you can move on. And so, and I think that's like kime in Japanese comes from the verb kimeru, which means to decide. So it's the decisive part of the technique. It doesn't mean power or focus or blah, 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 whatever else you want to translate it as. It just means to decide. Well, how long does it take to make, or how long does it making the decision take? You decide. I'm thinking about it, a decision's been made. Anything that's decisive is instant by nature. So for sure, that technique, I am hitting all those points that I feel is the kime point. But then instantly letting it go. And I'm hitting that point where I hit that point of kime, and then instantly letting it go. So I'm hitting those points. I can stop it. I can stop it. But I don't want to, because it adds no value. Because that shape is no more important than that shape, that shape, that shape, that shape, that shape, that shape. Like, arguably that's more important. That first connection, first feeling your target, feeling the weapon, feeling the attack, then taking it. That's more important. We don't stop there. We only stop there. So, do you understand what I'm trying to say? Yeah. So I would say yes, like those points of kime are super important, but no more important than every possible fraction of movement before and after those points. Or you can hear people using ibuki breathing. There's kind of like verbalization of breath. It's very kind of Goju-Ryu style, right? Nogara breathing is often called warrior breathing or baby breath, where you're breathing from your abdomen. This. And there's no real tension. It's just your diaphragm breathing. I would argue that this is the way to go. So you shouldn't really be making a sound when you make breath. So that's probably the first thing to do. try to strip away, because any sort of sound comes from excessive tension, and you really want to avoid doing that. Second thing I would say is that like we learn a very basic method when we first start karate, and that is in on the preparation, out on the execution. So we're like, you know, very basic, right? And generally speaking, it doesn't go beyond that. And so there's a big problem with that. That's fine when you're breathing, when you're making an out to in technique. So for example, a punch, generally speaking, would be an out to in technique, or a outside block, or an agyuke, that would be an out to an in technique. But there's equally many in to out techniques. So you've got to flip it. So you have to, like if you're doing Ginambrai, for example, to breathe in, or to breathe in whilst you're trying to twitch your pec muscles, to have this movement, then it's kind of counterproductive, and it produces a blockage like this. It produces stiffness. So being able to breathe out on the preparation and also out on the execution. So this is called a pulse breath. So a pulse breath is the kime forces air out, and then the relaxation draws air in without you actually having to breathe in. So like whenever we punch, like punching, like I'm not thinking about breathing in, but this sense of kime forces air out, and then relaxation in between draws an equal amount of air in. So you're just kind of billowing your lungs and keeping them steady. So you can do that with in to out techniques, in to out techniques. That's another thing. The third model is, of course, making kime on the in-breath. So not always making kime on the out-breath, but this being able to breathe in whilst shoring up your body. So having that model as well. So not only always, but also this connection whilst breathing in. So you can, and you're, this kind of thing. So giving different models, practicing those different models, and then when you're moving, be free. Be free, and your body will know. Movement. There is an infinite possibilities that we can do personally. There's an infinite possibility within this room because everybody's unique. Okay? So what I would say, just about a couple of minutes practicing this, what I would say is try not to kind of put a shape in there. Not many people, a few people do it, but not many. Not itch knee. Itch knee is never going to be as fast as itch. So from here, soften that elbow, use your hip, use your leg, and rotate. Get that in. Yeah? From here, this is same timing. Not hands only, not feet only, but everything. Finish. That point. As soon as I hit that point, then it's time for me to go. Understand? Find your way. Making take such, and making hamni, rotating into shomen. Making hamni, rotating into shomen. But depending on how fast I'm moving my arm, maybe I don't have to go from that solid hamni into that rotation to shomen. Maybe I can make hamni, relax, and then shomen. Make hamni, relax, shomen. If I've got the time. Make hamni, relax, shomen. Make hamni, relax, shomen. Make shomen, relax, hamni. Shomen, counter, rotate, hamni. It's the same thing. If you've got the wiggle room, if you've got that control of your hip, then you can use it. And if you don't, you don't. But what you're trying to do is put relaxation into all your body, not just your arm, not just your hand, but your entire body. Understand? Always reverting back to Shizen, always reverting back to Shizen Tai. Just like we did right at the beginning this morning, yeah? This is our way to do it. It's not the way to do it, it's just our way to do it. So you can take ideas, take it on board. If you like it, great. If you don't, no problem, yeah? But for now, try. You can't really decide whether you like it or not until you can do it. And then you have a direct comparison. You can't compare something that you can already do against something that you can't do, because then you'll always prefer the thing that you can do. But like if you only practice what you can do, well, that's literally the definition of insanity. If you do the same thing over and over again and expect different results, you're insane. So you have to try different methods. You have to try different ways in order to build up your repertoire and improve. You understand? So from here, I want you to have this sense that, like, you're kind of closed in your stance and kind of open with your chest. You're going to round your back. As you do rotate, you're going to pivot on your heel. Then from here, it's about opening, driving, and opening with your leg to produce that uchuke. So you're driving in uchuke. The next thing, be really careful. You're timing this leg and hip rotation with the execution of the technique. So, of course, not this. Kind of closing your armpit while saving your leg, and then sending that arm and your leg same time. Same time. Not this. Okay? So, same time. Next one, don't release this until this is ready. Prepare. Chest open. Chest open, then you're going to fire this, and fire this at the same time. This round, same time. And then close, then hip and hand, same time. I want you to kind of be that prescriptive with it. So with stepping forward, sambo ski, right, there's different ways you can do it. But the way that I'm asking you to do it now, the first punch has functionality. Second punch has so-so functionality. The third one doesn't. So if I'm going to step forward, right, all of my body mass is going forward on that punch. I've timed the back leg and that hand, boom, together. The second one, because I'm going to pull my hip back, or relax, not pull it back, relax it back and fire that body in, that has a level of functionality. But this one, if I think that I know that my hips are narrower than my shoulders. So if I'm pivoting around my leading hip, if I'm pivoting around my leading hip, ever so slightly, then that means on the point of finish, this shoulder is actually pulling back as my hand is going out. So there's no mass behind it, really. I mean, there's a bit of mass, of course. Well, there's maybe connection and a bit of mass from here, but it's not particularly strong. There's no real functionality to it. I just have to accept that and realize I'm doing that for a different reason. I'm doing it because I'm trying to coordinate that connection, that connection, that connection, so that I can, like Guy Sensei showed before, you could engage that movement anytime you want. Do you understand?
I never liked those moves, the first 5 moves of the bus, and I've always hated them.
Okay. this is not a therapy session.
It just makes me wonder, are some people just better made to do those moves than other people?
Well, I think some people have greater flexibility. But remember, like, it's not about the range of motion. It is about the explosiveness of the motion. So it's not, like I say, it's not mass times speed times distance. So, like, I can go from, like, this point to this point fairly easily. Now, some people will be able to go from this point to this point, and that's all they have. You know, it depends how flexible you are and the structure of your hips, and that's naturally given, nothing else, right? So it's not about the range of motion that you have. It's about how quick you can engage that motion, and that's what you've got to kind of work on. The explosiveness, whatever you have, whatever range of motion you have within your hips, how explosively can you do that? And then it'll have its own feeling. You know, but if you're trying to make these Gakko hammies and stuff like that, and your body's not designed for it, then don't do it. Or, you know, facilitate it with your stance. Do something. Because at a certain point, you're not following the shapes anymore, you're following the principles. And as soon as you follow the principles, your Basai Dai is unique. Because your body's unique. You know? Okay?
Yes.
Yep. They're always complaining because they'll say, well, last time we did this kata, you said I had to do it this way, and now you're telling me I had to do it this way. Yes. So, well, which way is it? Well, you know, obviously, both. You know, like, so I'm not normally prescriptive in, like, normally it's whatever I'm feeling, and I often, I think I just wrote something about this, you know, like, you know, it's like physical poetry. You know, if you read a poem, not that I read much poetry, but like, you know, if you read a poem, depends what you bring to the poem that informs how you read it. So one day you might read it and it's about love and romance, and the next day you read the poem and you feel very differently about your life, about your relationship, whatever. It's all about longing and loss. So what you bring to the art changes how you perceive the art. So yeah, so it depends what you bring to it, then that's how you change, and that's how, and so we're creating, karate doesn't exist, but we create it and then it disappears again. We do it and then it disappears again. So what we bring to that practice, what we bring to that creation will affect what we create, right? And you want to think about it in that way. And so that's why you need lots of different models to give you the broad spectrum of possibility. And if you don't, then you become myopic, and that's not art, that's just traditional, that's just copying. Like the traditional martial arts don't exist. Martial arts exist because art is forever changing and evolving. And traditional martial practice exists where there's a set archetype back in the past that everyone's trying to emulate. Not that that archetype ever really existed, but we're trying to follow that. So we don't do that in karate. We don't try to follow the karate of Gichin Funakoshi. We respect him as the founder, but we don't try to follow him because his karate, frankly, was terrible compared to modern day karate. And he would, I'm sure, be very happy about that because we're standing on shoulders because we've evolved, right? So that we've got to be very careful about how we approach our practice. I'm blocking Ude Barai. Bam! Blocking Ude Barai, yeah? He's going to attack. There's no way I'm going to do this. No way in the world would I ever do that, yeah? So he's blocking. Bam! Bam! He goes there because he wants a second chance. And then he comes in. Bam! And he goes there for the second chance. And he comes in. Come on! So everyone is. And you've got one movement. That movement, nothing. That movement, nothing. Flow. Flow, flow. Flow, flow. Flow, flow.
Relax, 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 relax. This. I'm regulating you with my breath. All he's doing is this. Sometimes long, sometimes long. Sometimes medium. Sometimes. Understand? It's the diaphragm that's controlling it, nothing else. Understand? To kind of practice this. Hichi is elbow. Blocking with your elbow. Really like yeah, so he's coming. That's all I want you to do. What I don't want you to do is this and block with your forearm. I want you to. Understand? Yes. Yeah, shoulder, elbow. Shoulder is blocking. Your shoulder is initiating it. You're blocking with this part of your elbow. Again, nice, yeah? So 1, 2, 3. Have this sense of 1, 2, 3. So you're using that natural flow. I remember, not this. You understand? 1, 2, 3. And all I'm doing is this, not this, not this, but this, and flow. One technique leads to the next technique leads to the next technique. What's the sound? This. Something. Doesn't have to be pretty. Just has to be kind of a little bit effective. All you're doing is putting your weight on. The most ugliest kick ever. Yeah? It doesn't look like anything, but as soon as you put your weight onto it, it has some sort of meaning. So wherever that might be. If you knock your leg up high, if they not so high, Not so high. Understand? 1, 2, 3. Then at no point am I kind of doing three techniques. Really, I'm doing one technique. One technique, right? And like one technique leads to the next, leads to the next. Yeah? I mean, 3 points of contact, but one flowing movement. Too many of you are kind of doing 1, 2, 3. And it's about this, rather than being in the flow of that movement and using your upper body, your breath to kind of create that power. That's 1 point. Second point is that, like, again, only get that sense of percussion impact. Like where you have to move your fist towards the target to create power. You don't, actually just come around this. So if you watch from this angle, so this 1, 2, I'm not really hitting him. I am, like, the closer my fist is to his stomach, the more difficult it is, of course. I mean, there has to be a level of whip, and if there's no, if you get like a bull whip, and you kind of getting that ripple through your body, and it has to have some room to snap at the end, of course. And if you're touching, there's not there. But still, I'm not doing this. That feeling. Do you understand? That's like effortless. Whereas everybody's putting a lot of effort into it and producing less results. Do you understand? Create power rather than this traditional Shotokan Hamni Shomen all the time. Like we only have kind of what we see as rotational power. So I advise against only having that model within your karate arsenal. And even when we do talk about rotational power, really, I would argue it's not rotational power, it's your back leg pushing, driving, forcing your body mass forward. And it's only because you're pivoting around your foot hip that it looks like it's rotation. But like if you open and close a door, it's not really rotating. You wouldn't say a door rotates, unless you work in a fancy hotel like Scott Sensei, like in rotational, those fancy hotel doors that rotate. No, doors swing, or hips swing. So don't think about rotation so much, yeah? Get your fist and hit someone. So you're constantly trying to hit in that percussionary way. Sometimes it's not like that, yeah? Sometimes it's like, run towards my fist. Like you don't have to have that constant, I'm going to run towards you and punch you, they're running towards you. I mean, like this is cooperative, so we're not doing this so much, but like too many of you are like, always this, yeah? Always, and you're having to create that. Like, I'm not really attacking him, he's attacking I mean, we're not really slapping anyway, right? But he's running in. I mean, there's a sense that I'm moving forward, but much more, it's a sense of him coming into it. Do you understand? Second thing I want you to think about really is like the longer the breath, the longer the movement. So this. And then all we're doing is that cycle and putting under pressure, putting under pressure, and so like this shorter. And I'm not going, I'm trying to do that full action with my hands that my breath allowed me to do, but with a shorter time. Like that's not going to work, right? So think about how that, like there's a world of difference between this and this. Just like there's a world of difference between this and this. But in essence they're the same. Do you understand? Last thing I would say is like without connection, all of it's meaningless, right? So without that kind of connection, wherever that might look at, or look like without that, then like if I break my center and he kind of pushes towards me, then there's no way I can resist. But as soon as I'm engaged and I'm making that connection, then it's going to be something that's impactful. So I'm connecting my mass to it. So like that's something else, because some people like, because it's precautionary rather than connection. And it's the connection that I'm looking for. Like, use your shoulder. Like I'm not gonna punch you with my hand. I want to have this shoulder. This feeling. You understand?
I'm not punching you with my hand. You understand what I'm saying, right? Like I'm punching, like. Okay, everybody come round one more time. Everybody come round. So stand about here so you can see clearly, because I don't want to do this too often.
You can go as far as you want.
Okay. Like, look at my fist. Completely relaxed. I'm not punching him with my hand. I'm punching him with my shoulder. Do you understand? I'm going to open. Then I'm going to. So when I'm like this, punch. Punch. Okay. Okay. You can Gakuzuki. Okay. Harder. 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 Ah, harder. 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 This is absorption. Taking his energy, putting it back to him. Nice. I'm using, this is fine, it's massage. It's fine, but what I'm doing, slow. This is absorption, yeah? Okay, honestly, it's, because what I'm doing is I'm taking his energy to, and I'm absorbing it. I'm not, if I, already it's stinging, and it's like a quarter of his power, 1/10 of his power. Already it's like, oh, but I can absorb it, and it's just gonna, I can easily take it. I can't take everything, but I can take far more. I have a good friend. Oh, thank you. That was your bench. I have a good friend, Michael Thompson. He was, you can Google him if you want. He was the Kyokushin European champion, 1988, 1989, I think 1990 as well, maybe. He's only like about a couple of centimeters taller than me, but he was a heavyweight champion. And he was like, he hasn't got the body for a heavyweight champion for Kyokushin. This is when Kyokushin Karate was massive and it was unified. And then he was one of the first people to go over to Japan and fight professionally in the K1 series, which was like the forerunner of really UFC, really. K1's still about in Japan. It was huge at the time. Him and a guy called Andy Fug, who was a Swiss guy who was the uncrowding champion of K1. Andy was, Michael and Andy were training partners. Anyway. Talking to Michael a long time ago, I was talking to him about this absorption, and he was like, "That's what I was doing," and he didn't know. But like Kyokushin, they're just hammering and because they can't punch the head, and so every time, because he was such a small guy compared to the other heavyweights, every time he would take a punch, he would lead to something else. Take a punch, he would lead to something else. Every single time he would take something, it would always circulate or in a circular way, put that energy back. And it's classic, and it's like classic Okinawan absorption training. And so there's elements of that in Hangetsu. So this sense of this thing. And also here, this thing. You're absorbing this motion in order to kind of transfer energy more. So I want you to kind of, you can have that, you can play about with that, like maybe not now, just at your lunches, but just get a training partner, and don't try to preempt it. Allow them to create the tension. Don't try to resist it. Absorb it. And if you get that feeling within your body, then you can really put it into your karate as well. Sometimes you're going to get hit. It's quite useful to know how to be hit, how to take a hit. This is basically absorption. Understand? There's anti-absorption as well. My revenge. So anti-absorption is 10 cents. This thing. As soon as I do this, he opens his back. anything like this, anything where we're, can be, what you're doing is you're kind of, like the cusp of my, like a cup of my arm, I'm just basically hitting both rhomboids and his spine. And involuntary, he'll open his stomach. And it can't be at the same time, it has to be cut up. It's impossible to take the technique. So absorption, anti-absorption. It's a basic concept with Okinawa karate. Understand? Most of karate is basically that. And like, you know, when we were all kids, we all learned how to snap our fingers, but it took time. It took time to kind of have that dexterity, that kind of connection. And what you were doing there was, what we all did was lay down a neurological pathway that allowed us to twitch the muscles in the right sequence to produce that. And that was with the most controllable part of our body, our fingers, right? Now we're trying to do that with parts of our body that we just simply have far less control of. So to be able to kind of, you know, even in stance, just kind of twitch from your abductor muscles, or your hip flexor, or your glute, or your ab, or your pec, or your shoulder. Like, these are all difficult things to do. But what you're trying to do is, what you have to do is lay down neurological pathways. And the great thing about that is that doesn't take hard training. That kind of takes hard thinking. So, you know, when you sat there, you know, watching Canada's Housewives, I don't know, wherever you watch it here, like whatever you're watching on telly, then just like, oh, right, try to discover different parts of your body and try to twitch them. And then once you do that, then that kind of feeling from that open feeling, that twitching of your pecs, twitching of your abdomen and your abductor muscles produces this kind of twitch muscle. And then the kick is not it's effortless, because I'm not really kicking with my leg. I'm kicking from my abdomen to produce the kick.
Is it powerful though? Because you're spinning at the same time, so.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like your body, like it's far more powerful than that, which is an awful lot of people do. You're doing that. You're doing it. Now the form dictates. The form dictates that we are kind of maybe coming into this kind of position, so that's kind of a little bit inhibitive, and maybe you wouldn't do that in reality. But for sure, an awful lot of people are kicking like this and they're leaning.
And reaching.
Reaching, yeah.
The distance is closer than that.
Yeah.
We're all thinking it's back there. It's not. It's right here.
Yeah. Hangetsu is very close to range kata. So yeah.
When I check you, your body doesn't turn progressively. Your body is almost already turned before your leg go down.
Yeah.
So you do not progressively turn your body.
No.
It's already facing.
So basically, what I'm doing with this, where I'm sending my body in and allowing my body to slingshot my limb, I'm doing with this. Exactly the same.
And it prevents to do a big circle.
Yeah. Now that's not to say that that's wrong. You know, like that. I also learned it in that way, and for sure that sense of like takes a certain level of body control, which is equally important. But important. I wouldn't say equally as important, but certainly important. So yeah.